Yes, please. Any questions about the PMO?
No, so far it's clear. Yeah.
Alexandra?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, I have a question for you. Here is the question. In a large organization, who is responsible for managing the governance of projects? Remember, somebody asked this question about the governance and I explained. So what do you think?
Is it C?
C, okay. And what do you say, Kelvin?
Yeah. Number C as well.
Mm-hmm. Don't you remember when I told you? Okay, let me see. The organization's governance committee. Okay, we will study governance later, but I must tell you that governance is kind of an umbrella rules and regulations for the whole organization, right? Now, if there is a general instruction set of rules which are to be obeyed by everyone in the organization, then the various department heads interpret those governance rules uh, according to their own need. I mean, everything which is in the governance of the organization is to be followed by everyone in the organization, whether it is a project, whether it is a department, whatever is happening in the organization, it comes under the great umbrella of organizational governance, right? And naturally, the organizational governance committee, probably working directly under the strategic committee, devises these rules and they provide them to all the organization. But if you are a departmental head, you would like to, because the governance rules are generic in nature, you would like to translate those governance rules for the betterment of your department. So in a way, for the benefit of your department, you will elaborate further on the organizational governance and create a governance mechanism of your own within your department, naturally under the big umbrella of the organizational governance, but this would be your departmental governance, right? Meaning what? That specific rules about your department, which are a bit more detailed than the organizational governance, will be devised by you and they will be applicable only to your department. Now you have got further 3 sub-departments under you. They are supposed to follow not only all the instructions of the organizational governance, but also of the departmental governance. And for running their own show, those sub-departments could further elaborate and create another umbrella within the departmental umbrella for their sub-department, further explaining certain governance rules for their sub-department. Exactly the same thing happens at the change-related initiatives. And what are they? We have got portfolios, we have got programs, we have got projects. So there also, they have the organizational governance is translated into portfolio governance is translated into program governance is translated into project governance. Every step, the things are slightly explained further. But anyways, they are generic rules. Like if the program manager is providing the governance for the projects, then the project manager is supposed to develop his or her project management plan exactly according to that governance structure. Governance comes one level up. Project manager does not create the project governance. Project governance is given to the project manager by the next higher level, may it be program, sponsor, may it be portfolio, whomsoever this project is falling directly under, they will provide the project governance, and governance is the instrument based on what the project manager will develop their project management plan. Project management plan has to comply with that. Now, I did explain to you that PMO, if it exists, although the PMO is not a necessity, but in an organization where we have got a lot many change-related initiatives happening, we may like to have a PMO. So PMO is a breath of relief, is a respite for so many different levels. So at least for the change-related initiatives like portfolios, programs, and projects, there might be a possibility, there might be a possibility that PMO may be, because PMO has got coordination role and supporter role, so PMO may be assigned all the governance responsibility within the organization. I hope you understand my point. So the correct answer here is the PMO. Do you agree with me? Fatma, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great.
Good.
Fatma, your camera is on, but I can't see you.
Okay, just let me do this one. Can you see me now?
Yeah, of course, of course.
Mhm.
Okay, I was explaining that governance of projects, we are not talking about the organizational governance. Therefore, you people answered, Alexandra and Kelvin, you said organizational governance committee. Organizational governance committee has absolutely nothing to do with the governance of a project, right? That is at the governance level. So this C is not correct. A is not correct because project manager cannot create his own governance. And D, the organization change control board is definitely not the right answer, because change control board exists within the project and that is naturally governed by the governance of the project. So organization change control board is only controlling the change requests, allowing those change requests according to the governance structure and the project management plan. Therefore, D is also not the right answer. So out of the answers available, PMO is the most suited answer. Although I said PMO is normally is could be it is optional in organizations, but if it exists, it by default takes on the responsibility of all the relevant governances under the umbrella of the organizational governance. Means if there is to be created the project governance, or if there are programs under the PMO, then program governance. So PMO could take on the governance responsibility as a support function, right? I hope you all got that.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's look at the big system of value delivery. I mean, when I talk about the system of value delivery, we do understand that if an organization is running, within that organization, there are a lot many things happening which add up to the value of organization. Agreed? So whatever we are doing in the organization should be adding value to the organization. So what are we doing in an organization? Generally, we are doing operations, the normal operations, the repetitive operations. Naturally, doing those operations also adds value, also delivers value on a consistent basis. But as you understand, operations are repetitive in nature, and we are doing nothing new when we are doing operations. We just have a SOP. Maybe there is a production facility and we are, manufacturing mobile phones. So yes, we will be manufacturing mobile phones in a continuous basis, and naturally that will be value delivery as well. But when we have to do something new, we have to invent a new way of doing something, we probably have to get into the domain of change within the organization. And change, as I refer to you, is delivered through, change is delivered through what? The smallest unit
Um,
of change is a project. Remember what we discussed in the project management definition? A project is a smallest unit of change. Change happens at the project level because operations cannot change themselves. Then we have a hierarchy. Projects could come under programs, programs could come under portfolios. So whole of this system of projects, programs, and portfolio, the whole hierarchy may be termed as a system of value delivery because that is to relate with the change in the organization, continuous improvement in the organization. We are inventing new ways of doing things, right? So this is the system of value delivery. So instrumental change happens here and ultimately adds value to the organization in a big way. Now, whole of this organization is affected by certain external environment, which may not be under the control of the people who are running the organization, but they are affected by it, like the climatic conditions, like the disasters, like the government regulations, like the political scenario in your country. You can't control it from within the organization, but naturally you all are affected, whether they are projects uh, or their operations. They all are being affected by the external environment. Then you have got some kind of internal environment within the organization which affects your operations, which affects your change related initiatives like portfolios, programs, and projects. So it could be, it is within the control of the organization, but they are impacting whatever we are doing here. So what are they? Like, we have got we have got an organizational culture, we have got a way of working, we have got a way of thinking, we have got how we view leadership in our organization, how we behave with each other. They may not all be written rules, but yes, they are internal environment impacting whatever you are doing within the organization. Especially this internal environment not only impacts the operation, but it also impacts the system of value delivery, which is specifically related to change-related initiatives, right? So this was about the system of value delivery. Now, this system of value delivery, which is a complex mechanism, at the bottom we do have project, but projects could be grouped into programs. They could be independent. Projects could be independent. They may not be part of a program, but yes, they can be part of a program. And programs could be independent, but they can be part of a portfolio. And portfolios could have sub-portfolio. Programs could have sub-programs. Projects could have sub-projects. So whole of this hierarchy is called the system of value delivery. And as I said before, the smallest unit of this system of value delivery is the project. The change actually, the minute change happens at the project level. So projects are responsible for delivering the product, service, or result, or in other words, what we discussed, outputs and outcomes, they fall under the project's responsibility. But as I will explain in the subsequent slides, program does not deliver the product, service, or result. Do you understand that? Why I'm saying that? Why do programs not deliver a product, service, or result, or outputs or outcomes? Why not? Anyone who can contribute to that? Yes, please. Kelvin, your views?
Yeah, that was me. Sorry. Yeah, yeah. Program is at another level. It's a higher level of strategy on how you organize the different kind of work streams, so to say.
Okay. But the specific point I made was programs do not deliver deliverables. They do not deliver outputs. They are not responsible for outcomes, or they are not responsible to develop product, service, or results. Projects are. Every project has a specific product to develop, right? But not the program. Then what do the programs do?
Program is not a collection of multiple projects. It's like
Okay.
a
Programs could be a collection of multiple projects. What should be the purpose of the program? What should be delivered at the end of the day? When the program is finished, what should be delivered to the organization?
An outcome?
Outcome is something to relate with the project, but you may be on the right path. If you can think a little deeper, probably you will hit the bull. What is an outcome? Outcome is a
It's a benefit.
short-term benefit. Programs are responsible for long-term benefits, right? Short-term benefit can be within the domain of a project, but the long-term benefits are many years after the project has been handed over, and those benefits will realize, and whomsoever has taken over that project, the deliverable of that project, they would be responsible for reaping those benefits. But if
But Suhail, sometimes I have seen the timeline in which you are finishing a program is somehow driven by the length of the longest or the latest project that you are executing. So
okay, that is the schedule of the program.
that's what I'm saying. So if we're saying that the outcomes from any project that you have is like the short-term benefit that you're having, why
Yes.
why we cannot say that the program is also somehow a short-term, but in a scale, it's like a multiple. I mean, it's like multiplying
Mhm.
all the different outcomes that you have without
Right.
considering the time.
Agreed. Agreed. But the problem is,
Because for I've been
because
I've been on some programs
Mhm,
with
mhm.
multiple small projects happening at the same time. So all of them are
Exactly.
basically.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That is exactly what happens. But as I said, the purpose of program is not to deliver the outputs or deliverables of the project. That is the responsibility of the project. Now, if there was no program on top of the project would have delivered it to some organization, some customer. So customer would have taken on the responsibility of running the show and converting those deliverables or outputs or outcomes into long-term benefits. Do you agree with me?
Yeah.
But in case a project is part of a program is a big show which has got many projects running simultaneously within that program. And when a project is finished, it delivers its output and its outcomes. They are delivered not to the customer, but to the program. And program takes on the responsibility of running that show until certain benefits which were supposed to be delivered out of the project ultimately they will be delivered now by the program, right? So program is more concerned about converting all the outputs and outcomes into the requisite benefits. And not only that, but to consolidate all those benefits into the overall larger program level benefit, which the program is assigned to support and deliver. So programs do not deliver the outcomes or outputs. They do not deliver the product, service, or result. They deliver the ultimate benefit, which is directly hooked to the satisfaction of some organizational strategy. So basically, when I'm talking about program management, I am not concerned about the outputs and outcomes as an ultimate delivery. Ultimate delivery is benefit realization, and that too, not only of all the projects, but a consolidated delivery of benefits, which are kind of aligned with a specific organizational strategy. This is how the program projects within the program are linked to the strategy of the organization. Moreover, one more thing you said there are many projects within a program, but I must clarify, they are just not any projects. This is just not a group of any projects. They all have to be serving the same big purpose. They all must be working towards the accomplishment of the program benefit, right? For the same organizational strategy the program is assigned to. So they all have to be related. They all have to be connected project. They cannot be unrelated project. It is not that you just put together a couple of projects and say that now it is a program. It just a collection of projects doesn't make it a program. That program has to have interrelationship, intercoordination, intercommunication, and a mechanism of control at the program level, as if the big organization program benefit could be delivered in accordance with the specific organizational strategy. So far, so good?
Right.
Good enough. Now, what about a portfolio? Portfolio is something bigger than a program. A portfolio may have independent projects directly reporting to it. It may have programs reporting to it. And it may also have sub-portfolios. Maybe the portfolio is too big and it may have sub-portfolios. Let me give you an example. All the projects and programs of your organization may be falling under a big portfolio of the organization. And portfolio has to do something to do with projects and programs, but not really the operations. But in a way, we can say that because portfolio itself doesn't have ending, like projects do end somewhere, programs do end somewhere. So portfolio does not end. Portfolio continues. Projects and programs come and go, but portfolio exists in the organization, whether formally or informally, but there is a portfolio, right? And that means if portfolio does not end, then portfolio is more like an operation. Although it is running the projects and programs, but it is supposed to be running the operation of projects and programs in a long run. Are you with me on that perspective? If I'm confusing you, please let me know. I can clarify.
That's okay for me.
Fatma, are you comfortable with the idea?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Alexandra, is it too much for you? Are you okay with it?
Yes, okay with this.
Okay, good. Right. So there could be portfolios, there could be sub-portfolios if the portfolio is too big and too complex. For example, your organization is running many different types of projects. One way was that we could have a one central PMO which controls everything, all the projects and programs happening in the organization could fall into a centralized portfolio. But what if you need to categorize your projects into different sections? Maybe under the big portfolio, you say, okay, all the IT projects should be separately grouped. It is not, they are not grouped because they are they have got some common objective like program, but they are grouped just because they are from the same area. They are from the same grouping, right? Like they are all IT projects. They may have diversified objectives, but they are grouped together because they are IT projects. Then there are construction projects. So you may have a separate portfolio for IT projects, separate portfolio for construction projects, separate portfolio for oil and gas projects within the same organization. So I would like to call that concept either decentralized portfolios, or I can say under a centralized PMO, we have got sub-portfolios, IT portfolio, construction portfolio, oil and gas portfolio, but that is for a very large organization. Similarly, the programs could be very complex. Maybe the management of program is so complicated, so difficult that probably I have to further divide my program into sub-programs and then have projects under them, giving them separate strategic objectives. Naturally, those strategic objectives given to the sub-program would be aligned with the larger strategic objective which the program is supposed to fulfill. So in that case, we will have programs and then sub-programs and then project and so on and so forth, right? But programs are always concerned with the benefit realization. Projects are always concerned about the deliverable. And portfolios, what do the portfolios do? Portfolios are concerned that we always start the right projects and programs in the organization which are suitable for the benefit of organization. Any project or program which is not really that profitable, which is not likely to deliver certain values. So portfolio may have the power to kill a project or a program based on its analysis that it would be better to divert this funding onto a better option, onto a new project or a new program, and this project or program is not really very useful for us right now, right? So that kind of financial and investment decision making is done at the portfolio level. So portfolio has a very different objective than a project and a program. As I said, projects deliver deliverables, programs deliver benefits or realize benefits, and portfolio looks at the strategic aspect and make decisions regarding the investment decision making, right? And whole of this big thing is all these are all the change related initiatives. The change in an organization is brought through these things, portfolios, programs, and projects. And as I said, the smallest unit of change is project, because change happens at that level, whether it is under a program, whether it is under a portfolio, or that is an independent project. Change happens at the project level. So as you remember in the definition, we said projects drive change. Projects drive change is the smallest unit of change in an organization. So far, so good?
Could a portfolio also be considered like a department?
Say again?
Could a portfolio also be considered a department? So like in my organization, we have our IT department. Would that be like the
Yeah.
portfolio and all the projects to run under
I do
that?
agree. I do agree with it, but this is not like any other department of the organization. Portfolio is more of a wider change related concept, but it is continuous in nature. So it always is something to do with the change-related initiatives, programs, and projects, right? So, well, I won't like to call it a department as such, but I know that portfolio has its own operations, right? This
Okay.
is like operations, but I don't want to really call it a department, right?
So maybe, but a department might have a portfolio where they have their
Yeah,
change-related
of course.
operations underneath them.
Generally speaking, if there is no defined portfolio in your organization, then the strategic committee or somebody from the strategic committee is making those kinds of investment decisions for all the projects and programs running in the organization. So that person is behaving like a portfolio manager, right? Although that he may not be defined as a portfolio manager, there may not be a formal portfolio in your organization. A single person may be making all the decisions regarding the portfolio, and therefore you may call that person a portfolio manager, right? Or there could be
Yes.
a complete setup, a complete office like a PMO, or rather bigger than a PMO, because portfolio is a senior level concept. So, and it should have its own operations, it could have its own staff who are just doing the analysis work, the feasibilities, comparisons, and making decisions. So, yes, it is an operation. And from that perspective, I do understand that this could be like a department. Yes, of course, it may behave something like a department. I agree with you.
I have a question, Suhail.
Yes, please.
How big should be the different programs and projects to call a portfolio, like as a portfolio? I'm just saying, I just want to use a silly example. For example, I need to build a house. Okay. Okay. Inside the house, I would need to complete the civil works, all the walls and all this story. I need to build the piping, the whole hydraulic systems. I need to do the electrical work, installations, so for the lighting, sockets, and all this. And I need a garden. So let's say we have. So every of these activities or every of these scopes that I have to do in my house, I call them project because the electrical project of my house, the hydraulic project of my. So can I say the house itself
is a project?
It's a
It's a project. It's not a program.
It's not a program.
No, it's not a program because
Okay,
you
so
are looking
that's
at
my point.
delivery.
So what's the scale that you need to consider to call project a project or scopes
Okay.
like
Number one,
like the
as
one that
I
I
said,
mentioned?
yes, as I said, a project may be independent. If it is an independent project, it may not be falling under any program or a portfolio. Yeah, right. It could be directly, interacting with the strategic organization who have given this assignment to the project, and naturally, that in that case, all the responsibility of assigning this project, of doing the feasibility, and making the decision whether we should do it or not, should have been taken by that person who is ordering this project. The moment this project starts, the project manager takes on, and project manager is not responsible for the benefits. You agree with me?
Yeah.
This guy is only responsible for delivering the building, the house, whatever you are constructing, and then it would be handed over to whomsoever, who will then be responsible for living in that house, reaping the long-term benefits from that house, and so on. Now, if it was a program, it was part of a program, this project was a part of a program, we could have 500 houses to be built, and a marketplace to be built, and a park to be built, and they all are projects. They all are projects, right? They all are different projects. Infrastructure, that could be a separate project, but what is the big objective? What is the big benefit? I want to, what do you call it? I want to populate that area which was barren into a thriving society, right? That could be my benefit for which I am working. So maybe I have given 25 years or 20 years for that to happen. So that would be the responsibility of the program manager to select the appropriate projects within that program, as if after 25 years this would be a thriving society. But this is not a very good explanation of the thriving society. I have to define the benefit. How much thriving should it be? It should be a clear objective. What benefit are we expecting after 25 years? So at least what is the level of population? For example, I say to accommodate 50,000 people with enough parking spaces and marketplaces and all, and recreational areas within that society. So that is the benefit which may be realized after 25 years. But as soon as the projects within this program starts getting completed, they will start delivering benefits, and program manager is responsible for ensuring those benefits. A building has been constructed, it may be handed over, but program manager is kind of translating those deliverables into benefits, and he will be overseeing the whole thing happening until and unless the larger benefit, the organizational strategy, has been achieved. So this is the society, the whole society of 50,000 people, along with all the areas and recreations and all the facilities that could be the target. So they are not deliverables I am focusing on at the program level. I am focusing on the larger benefit realization, because if that benefit is realized, certain strategy of the organization will be fulfilled.
Okay.
Right?
So there's no kind of a scale that we can use to measure or to define a group of projects as a program or a group of programs as a project. So there's no scale such as...
No. Group of programs as a project? No, I didn't say that.
Oh, a group of programs as a portfolio, sorry.
Yes.
My bad.
No, there could be a formal portfolio. I've talked about it. There could be a formal portfolio or informal portfolio. Informal portfolio is that classically there is nothing like a portfolio in the organization, but there is one person from the steering committee or the strategic committee who is making all the portfolio decisions. So informally, every organization will have some kind of arrangement by which they are making the portfolio level decision. But it is always good that an organization which is highly change oriented, they should have a formal office for a portfolio, and they could have formal responsibilities they must be performing. But it is very much possible that you don't see any portfolio in your organization. So informally, I would say if you can't find a portfolio in your organization, then at least look at what all change related initiatives are happening. The projects and programs currently happening in your organization is an informal portfolio. May it not be controlled, but this is your portfolio, right? And more so the reason that you realize that all these projects and programs which are happening within the organization must somehow be managed and controlled at the portfolio level. So we need to have some arrangement. Somebody is made responsible for making investment decisions regarding all the projects and programs. So that would, give the rise to the need for a portfolio setup or a portfolio manager.
Okay.
I am sure your organizations may not be having a portfolio manager as a position or as an office. Do you?
I'm thinking.
We have program directors that each one has a portfolio, but we don't have that separate role for portfolio manager.
But you see, portfolio doesn't come under the responsibility of the program manager. Portfolio is bigger than that. Program managers would be responsible for certain benefits. And I also understand that in most of the organizations, they don't really differentiate between project and program. They think a large project, a mega project is a program.
So for example, a minister of transport that is responsible for all the, I work on the metro and railway industry. So yeah, I mean, the Ministry of Transport, because he's responsible for big projects like, okay, let's build a metro line, let's build, I don't know, an airport, let's build, I don't know, some highways and all this. So Ministry of Transport can be considered a portfolio manager.
Actually, yes and no. Why? Because ministry is too big a thing. They may have initiated, for example, Ministry of Transportation has initiated many portfolios, many programs, like one program, set of program, one portfolio could be like all the, train projects, and the other portfolio could be all the road projects, and another portfolio could be, any other kind of transportation. So
Airport,
they could be
ports, whatever.
separate portfolios and separate programs in each case, right? But ministry is too big a thing for that. Ministry is more of a, governance kind of a thing, right? But I do agree with you. This is what the sense is. This is what it is. But when you say to build a line for that, that is one project, right? But when it is grouped into a program, it is no more just the line. It has a larger benefit of transporting 1 million people per year from one point to other, right? That could be the benefit ultimately which we are trying to gain, right? So that is the objective of the program. Some benefit has to be realized. The day you meet that level of transporting 1 million people per year on that train line, that is when the benefit will be realized. Got it? But the train line itself is a project. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Now that you understand the system of value delivery and this whole concept of organizational project management, well, probably I mentioned it before also. Now that I have introduced you to what is portfolio, what is program, and what is a project, and how do they group together, this system of value delivery can also be called as organizational project management, right? This can also be termed as organizational project management. And when I use the word organizational, that means I'm not only talking about project management, I'm talking about all three disciplines, the whole set of it. The portfolios, programs, and projects in your organization, this whole science is called organizational project management. Rather, there is a fourth element also, that is the binding strength which joins the portfolios, programs, and products together, and that could be cultural values. They are called enabling factors. In addition to portfolio, program, and project, there must be some kind of enabling factors like cultural values and this and that, which will actually put it all together, right? Which will bind, which will work as a glue to join all this big set of portfolios, programs, and projects together. That would be your system of value delivery. And generally, when you hear the word organizational project management, you must understand that we are talking about portfolios, programs, as well as projects. But when you hear the word project management, we are only talking about management of a project. When you hear the words program management, we are only talking about the program management. And portfolio management, these are three separate disciplines. If these three disciplines are put together, this becomes organizational project management. Got it?
Yeah. Does the program manager has less work than the project manager?
Say again?
Does a program manager has less, in terms of responsibilities and
Yeah.
workload? Do you feel like has less demands compared to a project manager?
Oh, no. Program manager has a lot many demand. Program manager, what a program manager has to do? He has to facilitate all the projects. He has to ensure that all the projects should be provided resources as if they can deliver their deliverable outcomes and outputs. When they deliver their outputs and outcomes and the deliverables, program manager is responsible to take on those deliverables and start translating them, start running the show, whatever has been created by the project. Program team starts running the show, puts into operation, and then over a longer period of time, they will convert it into a benefit. So you constructed a building in 6 months. That building was handed over to the program manager. Program manager operates that building for next 2 years as if the certain benefit of that project can be realized. Meanwhile, other projects are also happening. Their benefits are also coming out. And when all the benefits have come out and they have been integrated into the ultimate benefit of the program, that is when the organization strategy will be completed. So program manager never interferes into the micromanagement of the projects. He lets the project manager do their job because program manager has a lot of work of his own, and that too is spread over maybe decades, whereas generally projects are much smaller than a program, right? But that is just theoretical. As you said, how big a project or a program could be. So I would say program would be generally much bigger than a project. But you see, this is a very dicey statement because even projects could be very long. There are mega projects which could go on for decades, right? How do you compare a mega project with a program? There is no comparison. So basically, it differs from organization to organization. In a IT organization or a software development organization, maybe the general average life of a project could be 3 to 6 months, whereas in construction, a normal project may span from 1 to 5 years, right? So the programs of that organization would be appropriately, bigger than as compared to the life of a project in that sector. So I can't really say that how big a project should be to be called as a project and how big a program should be to call as a program, because that is relative.
Yeah, it depends on the nature of the business.
Nature of the business, of course. So Fatma is okay? Okay, so look here in this slide, I am trying to define the difference between the portfolio, programs, and project. Portfolios are a collection of projects. Understand? There are projects in the portfolio, independent projects. There are programs in the portfolio, and if the portfolio is big enough, it may have sub-portfolios as well. And to run the whole show also is the responsibility of the portfolio. So the operations, because it is not a project, it is not a program itself. Portfolio is a continuous thing which is looking after all the projects and programs. So it has its own operations. So these are the 4 components of a portfolio. Portfolio has 4 components. It could have projects, independent projects. It could have programs under it. It could have sub-portfolios under it, and it could have certain operations under it. 4 elements makes up a portfolio. They all have to be, all 4 components have to be managed in a group to achieve some strategic objective. And when I say a strategic objective at the portfolio level, then that is always related to the investment decision making, right? So portfolio is trying to translate the strategy of the organization into financial decision making, whether we should go for this or we should not go for this. I hope you understand my point. So portfolio is an investment decision maker, and they have got bigger responsibilities, but they are not bigger than the strategy itself. The people sitting on the strategic committee of the organization at the organizational level, portfolio people come under them. Then comes the program. Now, even the program does have certain components. It could have projects under it, it could have sub-programs under it, and it could have some of its own operations, which, because it is program has a life, so I don't call them operations, I call them program activities. Because program will end somewhere. I don't want to use the word operations in the program, but I can use that word operations in the portfolio. So here that component which runs the show of the program, which converts the deliverables into benefits and then consolidates those benefits, is called program activities, and they are performed by the program team members under the command of program manager. The project managers have their own responsibilities as far as their projects are concerned. When they deliver something to the program team takes over and program activities start happening on them to convert them into benefits and to consolidate them and to translate them into the organizational strategy. So essentially, a program has three components: the projects, the sub-programs, and the program activities. They all have to be managed together. Unlike a portfolio, there is no mention of managing them together or in a coordinated manner. Portfolio could just be a grouping of many projects and programs which are just being managed as a group, not in a coordinated manner. But it is necessary for a program to be managed in a coordinated manner because they are all related, as if to obtain benefits, because program is responsible for realizing benefits out of them. Portfolio is not responsible for realizing benefits. That is just there for the investment decision making and choosing the right projects and programs for the portfolio. Benefits are the responsibility of the program, and the deliverables are the responsibility of the projects. Projects could be independent, or they could be running under a program, or they could be running under a portfolio, or both. So they establish achievement of organizational goals and objectives at the lowest level. Although programs also achieve organizational goals and objectives, but they control those three components. Programs control the projects, sub-programs, and program activities. These three components are, and their independence is to realize the benefit, not to deliver the deliverables. The benefit realization is the scope of the program. The deliverables, outputs, and outcomes are the scope of the project. And portfolio is the strategic alignment and investment decision making. I hope you understand, you get the big picture, how all of these three disciplines, which are otherwise called organizational project management. This is organizational project management. All three of them put together, the whole big knowledge is called organizational project management. And then within the organizational project management, we have got portfolio management, one discipline, program management, another discipline, and project management, yet another discipline. And the smallest part of change, which drives the change, is the project. That's why we are more interested in the project, because project is at the surgical level, this is the smallest unit which brings change in an organization. Are we okay with it? Alexandra, do tell me when it gets out of control, you don't start understanding anything, because I'm explaining things from the perspective of a PMP certification. For CAPM, you don't need to know all this. But anyways, if you are understanding it, that would be good enough. But if you are facing some difficulty, please ask.
Okay, no, I understand this all. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, let me move ahead. Let us talk about the organizational structures. You see, all types of organization may not be very, docile for running the projects. Why I'm saying that? Because project is trying to bring a change, right? But the organizations are normally structured to do the operations. They are not really designed for bringing change, right? To driving change. So organizations normally resist change and they want to perform as per their predefined responsibilities, right? Like they want to just run their operations and they don't want to be bothered about other things. But at the same time, we do understand that if you want to improve an organization, if you want to, increase the, revenue, add some value, you have to bring certain changes. You have to evolve. You have to embrace the technology and all. And these are all experiments. They all are projects. And this cannot happen until the change happens at the lowest level, at the project level. But none of the organizations is designed and organized or structured in a manner to accommodate change. Most of the organizations are structured or organized according to the operation of the organization. I hope you understand that. That kind of structure is called a functional organizational structure. As if the organization can function properly. Functional. Every department should have their functions defined. There might be a hierarchy within an organization. There will be a CEO, there will be 4 departments. Finance department will have these responsibilities. This department will have this responsibilities. And this is generally how organizations are structured. And this kind of organizational structure is called a functional organization. Right? Are you comfortable with the idea of a functional organization? Now, my question is, how do you think we can run a project in a functional organization? Will it be easy, difficult, impossible? What do you think? Because a functional organization, by default, resists the change. They don't want the change to come in the organization. They resist the change. So can you run a project in a functional organization? How easy would that be? Fatma?
You're mute.
Yes, Kelvin?
So, yeah, I am thinking that yes, it should be, but like, I have no idea actually.
Just look at this slide. It says organizational structure and governance affects howsoever your organization is structured, that affects the way you bring change into the organization or you run projects in the organization. If people resist change, they won't like the existence of projects. They won't like the change happening in the organization because that is going to affect their operation. Their way of working is going to change. They don't like it. They resist change, right? Therefore, in that kind of organization, a purely functional kind of organization, running projects may be almost impossible because the project manager will have no authority. The project manager will have almost no authority. All the authority is held by the functional manager, the departmental heads. They don't want to entertain a kind of a project manager. They don't give any importance to the project. They don't give any resources to the project manager. So project manager will suffer and the project will suffer. No resources
But
available.
Suhail,
Yes,
sorry,
please.
Suhail,
Mhm,
in a construction project, for example,
mhm,
you have clear definitions on the scope and the functions that
mhm,
every department is, I mean, that you have in every department. So, for
mhm,
example,
mhm,
you
mhm.
have the design team, so you have the design
Of
department.
course, of course.
Then you have an installation department, and then you have a testing and commissioning department. Then you
Mhm,
have maintenance department. So
mhm.
these are a group of people working for one kind of
Yeah.
leader with a
No,
specific task. And all of them, for a construction, they need to report to the project manager that is moving somehow,
okay,
making that
okay. So
happening.
you are not
In that
talking
kind,
about
in that kind of a scenario or condition,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, that's the common way to work under a functional
Actually,
organization.
this is not a functional organization we are talking about. This is a tailored organization which is no more functional. It is partially functional and partially project oriented. A construction firm, what do? They do projects all the time. That's why they have to be, their organization structure has to be tailored accordingly. If it was a classical organization, a classical non-project type functional organization just running operations like a factory, right?
Mhm.
So factory does want to produce the output on a continuous basis. They don't want to experiment. They don't want to do other things, although that might be necessary to improve the productivity of the organization, but they don't want to do it. They resist it. A construction organization is classically a project-oriented organization.
Okay.
They're always doing something new. They're taking on new projects. So they are structured in such a way to support the projects. Even their functions are like design department, architectural department, contract department, and they are all aligned with the projects, right? But that is not a classical functional organization. Like a government organization is a functional organization. They only know how to do their job. And if you ask them to do a project, they are completely disturbed.
Okay. Now I understand.
Yes, Fatma, you are okay with it?
Yeah.
Alexandra?
Yes.
Okay, good enough. So that was a point I was trying to make, that a functional organization, a purely functional organization, which is only interested in doing their operations, which is organized around the operations, do not entertain the projects, and they don't like the project. They resist the change, and therefore, in a functional organization, yes, you can do some kind of project, but with a lot of difficulty, there could be a lot of resistance, right? Now, ask a project manager, what kind of environment do you want? He says, I need complete authority on what I am doing. I want dedicated resources. I want access to funding and other means. And I want to be directly answerable to the CEO of the organization. I don't want to go through the channels of the functional department, because probably they are resisting whatever I am doing and they don't let me do my work, right? So the ideal structure the project manager is asking is kind of a project oriented or a projectized structure, in which he has a dedicated team, he has dedicated funding, he has self-accounting system, and he has an objective given directly by the CEO of the organization. And now he can be comfortable in doing his job without any interference, without begging, borrowing, and stealing from other departments. He is self-sufficient. That kind of structure is called a projectized structure, and that is most suited for running a project. But the thing is, if there is a purely functional organization, uh, classically we cannot run any kind of projects there. If there is a classical projectized organization or project-oriented organization, then there are no operations there. There are no functions there, right? You understand my point? So if
Yeah.
you are a purely projectized organization and you don't have any functions, who will look after your accounting, finance, marketing, sales, salaries, all that? Who is looking after that? Without those departments, how can you function? You can't function just like a project, right? On the other hand, if there are all the departments and no importance to the project manager, that is a functional setup, there is no project management. Projects can't happen in a purely functional organization. But we have to live with both worlds. We have to live with the functional as well as the project oriented. So therefore, there is a middle way. The middle way, a hybrid way, is called a matrix structure. What is a matrix structure? In which we have some elements of functional and some elements of project oriented, and they are married up in such a way that both things can somehow happen, right? To do that, because we need the same people who are working on operations to be working on projects. So what we do is that we borrow people from the operations for the work of the project, right? That means in this matrix structure, everyone will be employed in their functional departments, but they will also be assigned to some project. That means every individual, every worker would have two bosses, one an operational manager or a functional manager, and the other the project manager, and there might have been some understanding which work of the project manager will the employee will do, and which work of the operations management will that employee do, and what would be the division of his or her time, right? So that would be our matrix structure where we have got some kind of understanding between the functional and project-oriented setup, and this is the middle way. But matrix can further be subdivided into three types. Looking at it from the project management point of view, there is a weak matrix, there is a strong matrix, and there is a balanced matrix. Now, as I told you, in a matrix, we have got two people, two bosses, project boss and the functional boss, right? So striking a balance between these two bosses, because they are having the same people under command for different purposes. The person is the one. There is a boss who is a functional manager, and there is also a boss who is a project manager. If the functional manager is strong and project manager is weak, that would be a weak matrix structure.
Okay.
Because in that also, project work will suffer. It is not really very suitable for managing projects, although the people have been assigned to your project, but they are not being spared by the functional manager, because functional manager gets more importance from the CEO and project is put aside. So this is slightly better than the functional environment, because in functional environment, projects were very difficult. In this environment, in a weak matrix environment, projects may happen, but not on priority. A strong matrix would be where project manager is more important than the functional manager, right? So whatever the project manager wants, he gets. Functional manager's work could be, delayed. CEO is favoring the project manager more than the functional manager. So the operational work may suffer in favor of the project work. That would be a strong matrix structure. A balanced matrix in which the project manager and the functional manager strike a deal, and they distribute the time, and they honestly favor each other as if work of both can be done comfortably, right? So I have told you about 5 different structures: a functional structure, a weak matrix structure, a balanced matrix structure, a strong matrix structure, and a project-oriented or projectized structure, right? So these are the 5 different kinds of organizational structures. There could be others also, but they are the classical 5 types of organizational structures, which could affect the way the projects are being done in that organization, right? But again, I would say it is not necessary that the organization you are serving would be having one of these structures applied, but there could be a combination of structures applied. Maybe your organization is generally functional in nature, but one of the departments is very project oriented, another department is working in a strong matrix. You could have a flavor of everything in your organization, and that means this mix of various structures within one would be called a composite structure. Will be called a composite structure, right? So we tailor it in our organizations according to the nature and need of our organization. Like you were giving a construction example, yes, that is our organization structure. Yes, the projects are happening there. Yes, the projects are given more importance, and maybe it is not a project oriented, but it could be a strong matrix. It could be a balanced matrix. So in a balanced matrix, things can happen both ways. Projects may not suffer as well as the functions can happen. In a strong matrix, if the projects are given even more importance, and in a projectized structure, all the attention is diverted to the projects, right? I hope you understand, Kelvin, how these different organizational structures can affect the projects.
Yeah. Can you repeat about the composite?
Composite is just a combination of all what we studied, all the 5 different structures. You find traces of that at various parts in various parts of your organization. Maybe
Okay.
overall your organizational looks like a functional organization, but maybe there is a projects department which is highly projectized, right? Which is highly projectized, and
Yeah.
there might be a finance department which is kind of a balanced structure. They're enjoying a balanced structure within the finance department, because even finance people are doing some kind of projects, right? So they are enjoying it in a way that they have created a balance. For some of the functions of the finance are also happening, some of the projects of finance are also happening. And maybe in HR department, we have a weak matrix structure. So I'm trying to say that this may not apply squarely on the whole organization, and you can have various flavors within one organization, and that would be called a composite structure in whatever proportion, in whatever way that is applied to your organization. If there are indications of more than one type of organization structure existing in your organization, it may be called a composite organization.
Yeah, that's what I have.
That's exactly what you have, yes. So in a functional organization, the team loyalty, team members, because team members are actually reporting to the functional manager, but they also are doing project work. So their loyalty lies with the functional department because their boss is the functional manager. In matrix structure, they may have a conflicting loyalty, like they maybe reporting to for some matters to the functional manager, for some matter to the project manager. So they may have a kind of a balance or a conflict. And in a projectized organization or project-oriented organization, their loyalty is only with the project because they are not answerable to any functional manager. As far as the team member reporting, naturally, in functional, they're reporting to the functional manager. In project, they're reporting to the project manager. And in matrix, they're reporting to both. Project manager's role in a functional organization is a big question mark, is almost like no role of a project manager. And if at all it is, he doesn't have any power. He's a toothless project manager. We don't even call that guy as a project manager. We normally call it a project coordinator. A junior level person has just been put there to coordinate the things. In a matrix structure, we may find varying, importance to the project manager from a coordinator to a full project manager. Like, in weak matrix, he could just be a coordinator. In a balanced matrix, he could have partial control of the project. And in a strong matrix, he may have been a full-fledged project manager. Whereas in a projectized organizational structure, the project manager has full-time responsibility, full-time role. It is not a part-time role. As far as the team member role is concerned, team members in functional and matrix could be part-time. Whereas in a project-oriented structure, that is a full-time commitment. These people are dedicated, they have been hired for the project, and they are not supposed to be doing anything else. So this is full-time commitment. Control of project manager over the team is almost non-existent in functional, a little bit medium to average in matrix, but in a projectized structure, he has full control, right? So I hope I was able to make you aware about the various organizational structures and how they behave. A question for you from this area. For this project, the team may operate outside the standard organizational formalized reporting structure. Which organization structure does that represent? Remember, the team may operate outside the standard organizational formalized reporting structure. What are we referring to? Functional, composite, project-oriented, or matrix?
Project-oriented.
Project-oriented, okay. Fatma says project-oriented. Alexandra, what do you think?
Hmm.
Read it again. The team may operate outside the standard organizational formalized reporting structure.
So I would say, I don't know. I don't know actually.
Make a choice at random.
Okay. Composite.
Composite. Okay. Good enough.
I don't know.
Kelvin, what do you say?
I would say matrix and composite.
Matrix and composite. You see, just read the question very carefully. It specifically and surgically says, very clearly says, that we are operating outside of the standard organizational formalized reporting structure. That means absolutely no functional, right? Now, we have three answers coming from you people: composite, project-oriented, and matrix. What is the exact opposite of functional? Naturally, that is the project-oriented. Composite is still functional. Matrix also has some element of function, but here we are clearly saying operate completely outside the standard organizational formalized reporting structure. That means we are classically talking about the project-oriented structure, right? Okay. I will allow you to have a little discussion amongst yourselves to decide on these things. This is a discussion time. You can, all three of you can start talking to each other about these questions, how organization groups and individuals interrelate in, in your organization? What is the authority of the project manager? How the resources are being made available in your organization? How the project is conducted, right? So I open the house to you, and Kelvin, can you lead it?
Why me?
You are good at it.
Yes, ladies. Yeah, the project that I work with now is a metro. I'm working in the City Rail Link project, which is the new metro station that we're building here in Auckland, New Zealand, and it's a big project. I mean, a lot of people working in there, a lot of department, a lot of stakeholders, a lot of subcontractors as well, and yeah, it's a composite organization because yes, we have the functional department, the one that Suhail mentioned. We have HR, we have finance, we have contract, we have claim, which are specific to that particular task. But we also have some of the metrics organization, for example, the design team, the design department. You have a group of engineers that are somehow responsible and an expert on one particular discipline, but the discipline may cover multiple scope of the project. So, for example, one electrical guy can be responsible for checking the lighting project, and the same guy can be responsible of supporting the the electrical distribution on the different panels that we have on the project, on the stations. So that's why this guy is supporting multiple projects within the design team. So that's why I have also a metrics organization. Project oriented, we have project manager. It's a project, so there are some specific roles in the organization. For example, the installation team. The installation team is responsible for delivering the equipment, bringing the equipment, bringing the equipment on site, and they are making sure that the equipment is placed on the right position, and they do the fixation to whatever it has to be on the wall, on the floor, whatever it is, and they do the cable connection. Then you have another, but this is only focusing on one particular task of the project. That's it. So it's like a very project oriented. And composite, because the project is a composite organization, as I mentioned, because we have traces and multiple type of structures in there. So the project manager, in this case, we have multiple project managers, all of them directed by a project director. So that's what we have here. And the resource availability is, as I mentioned, the guys that are working on the matrix distribution. So the design, in this case, the example of the design manager. So he's responsible on allocating the engineers into the multiple different, tasks that they have to provide to the team. So is in that case the design manager responsible for making the resource available and balancing the the workloads that they may also have. And yes, that's the way we are building the City Rail Link project.
Good. And Fatma, what are your comments?
Okay. I'm working in PASI. PASI actually serves as a regional body for the supreme auditing institution across the Pacific. And we are aiming to improve the public sector auditing and governance. The PASI, secretariat is responsible for the coordinating and supporting the operation and project of all their size in Pacific. And Secretariat coordinates activity and project involving multiple sites. For example, when conducting capacity building program or cooperative audits, sites from different Pacific nations come together and their PASI leadership. And then they are doing all these projects together. And we have donors or funders, which are the governments and big organizations. And in in PASI, we have a matrix-like structure. Projects often involve multiple members of size and external partners, which makes the authority of the project manager, depending on the scope of the projects. In this setting, the project manager or the AMR manager typically acts as a manager to align between different entities, between size and external auditors or development agencies. And sometimes we have stakeholder influences, they are giving us the specific requirement, and we have to put those requirements in our strategy and follow those goals. And we have shared resource across size, and then sometimes we are funding the all activity and projects. And in our organization, we don't have that much roles, and everyone is doing a part of a bit of anything. And we don't have human resources, just the account team, and then we have program directors with a specific portfolio. And this is PASI,
Wonderful, wonderful. No, Alexandra, I did not ask you first because I wanted you to learn from them. And now I would like your comments.
Yeah. So my organization is a composite organization. And so the actual teams themselves, so it's a communications organization. And so those teams, I would think, are more project oriented because they have a campaign that they'll run, which is kind of their project. And then at the end, they have their deliverables of that campaign. But then my team itself, so my team is project oriented entirely. We sit within the operations and we run projects for the operations teams. And so those teams are functional. So we have all of our functional teams, like our IT team, our finance team, human resources, grants and granting, those teams are all functional. And then my team is project oriented. And so what that means for my own work is that, there's a complete authority. Our project managers have complete authority over our resources and our availability on our team. And the project is conducted kind of independently of the rest of the teams. And then we hand in deliverables to the teams, as we work on our projects. So we're definitely composite. And then we do, I think, employ matrices. I don't think we actually employ any matrices where there's two managers for users or for employees. Everything is composite.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you all realize that in a way, you all are composite. You all are composite in a way. You may have, kind of various structures visible within your organization at some place, but in a way, I can, in whole, I could say that all the organizations running are in some combination are composite in nature. Right. So we conclude this lesson, which is this topic, not really this lesson. This lesson is very long. We talked about the project management, PMO, organizational project management, organizational structure. These were very conceptual. They were really these things you must have understood. This whole lesson of, I think, 6 different topics. This is the first topic we have completed. So you can understand how important this whole lesson is. This is actually forming your base. Now you can move ahead from there. Anyways, let us start the next part. Before we can do that, if you want to make any comments about these things, about this topic, you can always do that. Anything which comes to your mind, which stood up to you, which you did not know, and you enjoyed learning that thing. So, not two, but only one thing you can tell me. Yes, please. Okay, any one of you. Any one of you could tell any one thing. Anything which stood out to you from this lesson, from this topic.
Yeah, for me, I mean, with the name of governance team was something new that I
Okay,
just
good.
realized in this project here. Yeah, somehow those, responsibilities were somehow assigned to the project controls team, kind of. But yeah, it was interesting understanding the way that how the PMO and the governance, works together. So appreciate that.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Anyone else wants to contribute? Maybe second question for Fatma. Anything which is still puzzling you?
No, not really, because everything was like we reviewed all the things that we knew already. Only the matrix structure, which I didn't know that we have another sub structure, weak, balanced, and strong. So like those kind of things. But the rest is I can say that they all were okay.
Good, good. Alexandra, third question is for you. What's one idea that, if implemented, will help your team?
That's a good question. I was thinking yesterday about how we could implement like agile, like what that would look like. I don't know if it would actually help our team, but kind of like what would that look like, and then would that benefit our team? But that's something that I think is still very like once we learn more about agile, I would actually have more understanding there. But I don't think it's yeah, I think that like in terms of what would help our team, as we are very project oriented, I think applying different approaches for project management would be interesting, but there's nothing in specific that I can point to right now.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think this was good discussion. And now, very quickly, I would like to cover this additional topic, which is not part of your lesson, but it has been included by Dr. Faz, to introduce you to the traditional side of project management, that is the predictive project management. And as per the 7th edition, or for that matter, let's call it, I did refer to you a book, which is Process Groups, a Practice Guide. Remember that? Process Groups, a Practice Guide. That is the one which covers these traditional parts, the predictive project management. Let me quickly explain that. In the traditional project management, I'm not talking about Agile now, right? We'll talk a lot about Agile later, but right now I'm not talking about Agile. I'm specifically talking about the predictive or traditional waterfall project management. In waterfall project management, we do it in two aspects. One thing is, but whatever we do in our traditional project should be classified into 5 process groups, as shown on the left. These process groups are, there are certain processes relating to initiation of the project. There are certain activities related to the planning part of the project. There are certain processes which relate to the execution of the project. Then we have got monitoring and control. Then we have got closing of the process of the project. So all the processes which are good practices given by the standard of PMBOK have got a number of processes which could be grouped into any one of these 5 process groups, right? But as a whole, there are about 39 different processes. Some processes relate to initiation, some relate to planning, and so on and so forth. But one thing I must clarify, this is not the project life cycle. People confuse it. This is not the project life cycle. This is not the sequence in which the project happens, right? This is just a grouping of the 39 processes in 5 groups. That's about all. Life cycle is a completely different concept. Please do not ever confuse it with the life cycle. We'll talk about the life cycle later, but for the time being, this is a grouping of the processes, right? On the right-hand side, there are certain areas, we call them the knowledge areas, in which you should be applying your knowledge. You would be applying your knowledge in the integration of the project, in the scope management, schedule management, cost management, quality, resources, communication, risk, procurement, and stakeholders. There are 10 knowledge areas, and interestingly, those 39 processes I just mentioned to you also relate to one of the knowledge areas as well. So there are 39 processes. They may be grouped into 5 process groups, or they may be related to one of the knowledge areas each, right? So a process could have a connection with an area of specialization or the knowledge area, or it could have a link to the one of the process groups. Is this concept clear? Okay, if you understand that, let us move ahead and see all those 39 processes. First of all, just count the boxes here. How many boxes are there on this screen? 1, 2. 2 in initiation. So that means there are only 2 processes in initiation, right? There are 24 processes in planning. There are 10 processes in execution. There are 12 processes in monitoring and control, totaling up to 24, 34, 44, 45, 46, 47. Sorry, 24, 34, 44. Not 39 processes. Sorry, I'm wrong in saying 39. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So yeah, exactly. 24 plus 10 plus 12 plus 2. How much is that? 48. There are 48 processes. I'm sorry, I said 39. There are 48 processes, right? So this is, no, 48, 49 processes. One is closing also. One process in closing also. There are 49 processes, not 39, but 49 processes. I hope you remember that. Now let me tell you what are those processes. And the interesting part is, in this chart, which is based on the previous version of PMBOK, but this is, as far as the traditional or waterfall project management is concerned, this is still valid. This chart is still valid. And the interesting part is, we not only are showing the grouping according to the process groups, but within these process groups, here is the first process, which is called Develop Project Charter. So in this card of the Develop Project Charter, it shows which knowledge area does it belong to. It belongs to integration, right? Develop Project Charter is a process of initiation which relates to the integration knowledge area. And in PMBOK's 6th edition, the process number is 4.1. Why 4? Because these numbers are coming from the number of chapters. First 3 chapters are introductory in nature. 4th chapter is integration. Then 5th chapter is scope. 6th chapter and ultimately there are 4 to 13 number chapters, right? So the first process of integration is 4.1. So this is project charter. Then we have got another process. After the charter has been issued, the project manager sets out to identify the stakeholders, which process is related to stakeholder management. It is related to the knowledge area of stakeholders, but it is happening during initiation. The number is 13.1. Then in planning, just remember that integration is the parent area everywhere. Here you can see the integration was, developed project charter was the control. In planning, the control is again with integration, and that is develop project management plan. And then we have got various sections here. This is the section for scope. This is the section for scheduling. So 4 processes of scope planning, 4 processes of schedule planning, 3 processes of cost planning, 1 of quality, 2 processes of resource planning, 1 process of communication, 5 processes of risk, 1 process of procurement, and 1 process of stakeholders. Total 24 processes are there in planning. And at the heart of it, which is controlling everything, is integration, and that is 1 process, project management plan. Project management plan is actually made up of everything which is happening around it, right? The project management plan will get completed when everything is completed during the planning. So that will be our consolidated project management plan coming at the end of planning. If you look at execution, we have got 10 processes. Again, at the heart of it, we have integration, right? And integration, there are 2 processes. One is direct and manage project work. Whatever we have planned and whatever has been included into the project management plan will be directed and managed here. And moreover, during the execution of the project, whatever new lessons or new knowledge we learn, we are supposed to manage that knowledge and archive that knowledge somewhere. That process is called manage project knowledge. This also relates to integration. Then we have got manage quality. For resources, we have got 3 processes there. Acquire the resources. When we do the work just in time, we will acquire the appropriate resources, whether they are human or non-human. Then developing the team is also happening during the execution, and managing the team is also happening during the execution. We have got managed communication. The plan is here. The plan is being implemented, and we are managing those communications as per the communication management plan. Then we have risk responses. We did the risk planning here, and the last step was we have planned certain responses for risks. Those will be implemented here when appropriate. Then we have got conduct procurements as per the procurement management plan, and manage stakeholder engagement as per the stakeholder engagement plan and the identified stakeholders you have done in initiation. In monitoring and control, we have got at the heart of it integration. There are 2 processes. One is to monitor and control overall the whole project work. And if there is a change request, that has to be processed through perform integrated change control. This is also an integration process. That means no matter from where, if there is any request of change from the customer, from any of the smaller controls, they will all be requesting the change to this process, perform integrated change control. Then we have got 2 processes for scope. One is validation of the scope, that is the final acceptance of the deliverable. Scope has been validated. That means once the scope is validated, the acceptance is completed and the output or deliverable is ready to be handed over to the customer. Control scope is to relate with the process. Is the scope being fulfilled correctly? Is it under control, right? All other processes are also controls, like there is a schedule control, there is a cost control, there is a quality control, there is a resource control. Then we have the monitoring of risks. Just a moment. Monitoring of risk, monitoring of communication, control of the procurements, and monitoring stakeholder engagement. But last but not least, in closing, we only have one process that is going to be integration, and that would be whenever a project or a phase is to be closed formally, that has to be done there. So you can see that we have got these 49 processes distributed into 5 process groups, as well as if you want to look at what are the integration processes. First one was in initiation, develop project charter. Second one was develop project management plan. Third was direct and manage project work. Fourth was manage project knowledge. Fifth was monitor and control project work. And sixth was perform integrated change control. And the last, seventh, was close project or phase. Similarly, if you want to talk about scope, there is nothing in initiation, right? The first process of scope comes here. This is plan scope management, then collect requirements, then refine scope, then create WBS. Then we have got nothing in execution. We have got 2 processes in monitoring and control, validate scope and control scope, and nothing in closing. So you can translate this chart. This is a very comfortable chart for a traditional project management, and you can make a lot of sense out of it. I would say that you should go through this chart very thoroughly. Okay, when I have explained this, if you have any difficulty understanding what I am saying, so you can always question what is happening, how is it happening, why is it happening. So please ask.
You're saying that for the 7th edition, the processes flow is still the same.
This is valid. This is good enough, but only related to the traditional waterfall predictive method. It does not relate to agile at all. It has nothing to do with agile. Agile is a different method.
Yeah.
So normally in construction and other areas, generally we follow this kind of mechanism. Padma?
There's
Have you seen
nothing to
this?
be asked.
Yes.
Sorry?
Have you seen this thing before?
No, this is the first time I'm seeing this.
So I would really very strongly recommend that you should try to understand it. It is important that if you are doing things in a predictive manner, you must understand what it is. But at the same time, I want to make a comment. All of these 49 processes are not mandatory for you. They are just the good practices given in the PMB, okay? It depends upon your project which practices you want to pick and which you don't want to pick. Maybe procurement is more important to you than maybe, let's say what? Maybe as compared, procurement is more important to you than resource management. So probably you will emphasize more on procurement and maybe less on resources, right? That may be the case that you are not hiring your own team, you are outsourcing everything, have all the parts of your project, you're outsourcing to various contractors. So you don't manage your own team. In that case, why do you require to focus on resource management? The contractor will do it. So procurement, you will focus more. So it is on your will and wish, which of the good practices you want to follow and which you don't want to follow, which you want to give more emphasis and which you don't want to give more emphasis. So this is all your decision. This is the set of all the 49 processes alongside the good practices. You can pick and choose which processes to follow and which not to follow. But whatever is written in the standard, these are all good practices, but they're optional. You pick and choose which processes you need to follow, and in a kind of I should say that you can tailor all of these things according to your need and requirement of the project.
Can we get this slide, like, because they are too small to read, but we are going to have this slide.
I think probably you can ask Dr. Faz. He might have a large chart made out of it, and he can share that PDF. Right now, I have this thing only in the slide format. This was created by Ricardo Vargas, right? And probably if you can search on the internet, you can find, and maybe, you can even buy the chart. That could be a very big chart you can post on a wall or something like that, right? I will try to find out if I can find it anywhere and I can share it with you. But right now, what I have is on the screen. And moreover, if you want to understand these things better, I would very strongly recommend to go to the practice guide, which I said, the process groups, the practice guide, read it, and that will explain everything. Got it? Alexandra, how do you feel about it?
Good.
Complex?
Yeah, I was also just trying to find a version so that I could zoom in and read it. But no, it makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense. Okay. One more thing. Okay, one question was here. My question from you is, if the scope, time, and cost are so important that they are called the project objectives. They are so important. Everything is tailored around the scope, time, and cost. Why there is no process being executed related to scope, time, and cost? In execution, we don't find these three colors. Purple, blue, light blue, and green is nowhere, a dark green, nowhere to be seen in execution. Although they are there in monitoring and control, they are there in planning, but they are not there in execution. Why? Does the schedule, the time plan, or the scope they do not need to be executed? Any ideas?
No.
Actually, they have been consolidated into the project management plan, and now we are executing the project management plan, not schedule or time or cost individually. They have been encapsulated into one big plan, and that is being executed through direct and managed project work, right? That's why we don't need any specific processes to execute the scope or time or cost. But as far as the control is concerned, we have all the controls here: scope control, schedule control, cost control, quality control, resource control, everything. We have all kinds of control in monitoring and control. But as far as the execution is concerned, we will have everything executed as per the plan. But there are certain things which have to be done only in execution. For example, we have to acquire the resources during execution to do the job. We have to develop the team. We have to manage the team. We have to manage the quality, do the quality assurance. We have to deal with the stakeholders. We have to deal with the communications. We have to conduct the procurements. Outsourcing is happening there, and you have to implement the risk responses whenever they come. So you see, in execution, we have only those things which will happen only in execution. In monitoring and control, we have all the controls, right? And in closing, naturally, we are closing everything down. Okay, one last thing before I close the session. These are two boxes which are created. These are two types of sets of documents which are created during planning. When we are done with develop project management plan, what we have is these two things. One is called the project management plan, which includes all the management plans, scope, requirements, schedule, cost, quality, resource, communication, risk, procurement, stakeholder. These are the 10 plans, plus some additional plans like maybe you need to have a separate change management plan, a separate configuration management plan. Then the 3 baselines, scope, time, and cost, I said very important because everything revolves around them. So scope baseline, schedule baseline, and cost baseline, that is the final version of the scope and schedule and cost, which is going to be implemented. This is the final approved version, which is going to go into execution. That is part of the project management plan. And in addition to that, we may have the combination of all these 3 baselines could be called as a performance measurement baseline. Then the way of working, as I said, what is the life cycle and what is the development approach you are using, which we talked about earlier, like agile or predictive or hybrid or whatever, howsoever you want to do this project, that is also part of your project management plan. This is one document, one big document having all this. This is one major document. Everything else which we create, like, we develop the activity list, we develop the Gantt charts, we develop various kinds of ongoing documents, risk registers and risk reports and issue log. They are not part of the project management plan, and they all are called collectively as project documents, and there are about 33 different documents listed here. These things which are in the project documents are not part of project management plan. Project management plan is final version of everything, not the interim versions, right? So this is the final version of everything. So this is the difference between project management plan and the project documents. And that's about it. So I'm done with this additional section on PMBOK, which talks about the predictive and traditional project management. You can explore it more. It is not part of our program to go into further detail into this. Tomorrow, I will start topic B, right? Today is our 4th day, Thursday, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow is Friday, and that would be our makeup class for the last, class we missed on Tuesday. And that will start 1 hour earlier than today, right? So be ready for that. And if you have any questions before I close the session, you can ask.
So far, so good.
So far, so
Okay.
good. Okay.
Yep. No
Thank you,
questions.
Suhail.
Thank
No
you very
questions.
much. Thank you very much. See you
Good,
tomorrow.
Suhail.
See you tomorrow.
Tomorrow, 1 hour earlier, huh? Remember that.
1 hour earlier.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.